Hi, I'm Peter Clines, and in the before time, I ran the Writers Coffeehouse at Dark Delicacies in Burbank, California. Now that we're all social distancing, some friends and I are going to try and answer your writing questions here online. So ask away. Thank you all for coming to this little meeting, get together, whatever. We haven't decided what we're calling these things yet. The question for today is from Dan. Dan asks, this is actually a leftover from WonderCon, but I think it's actually even more timely now. Dan asks, lockdown has fried my brain and kept me feeling unable to focus on writing. Do you have any advice on how to maintain focus when it feels like the world is falling apart around you?
Denial helps.
Tons of denial.
Imagine we're in a Blackadder TV series episode.
It's not that funny, though.
Black
No,
Mirror?
Funny enough.
Blackadder or Black Mirror?
Blackadder.
No,
Blackadder.
Real life is what I'm talking about.
No. What helps me, says Peter? Well,
Mason jars.
Drinking is
Well,
booze.
you know,
I make rum and cokes in mason jars these days.
I think it really depends on, what works for you to maintain focus even when you don't have the world falling down around you. Is it removing distractions, drinking coffee, taking a lot of Adderall? Some people do that. Adderall and I don't get along well, so I'm not one of them. But point being, if Dan, hi Dan, if you're able to write without all of the noise and crap going on and just regular life stuff, how are you doing it that way? Because that should be at least the first thing you think of. If that's not working, that's a different matter. Anybody?
I think one thing to keep in mind is I think it's safe to say we are in extreme circumstances right now. Like there's a little more than the regular day-to-day distractions going on. Personally, I think, look, it's okay if you are getting distracted a little bit by this. I mean, yeah, you want to be able to focus, but don't feel horribly guilty. Don't feel like you're a failure because, oh, Jesus God, you're upset that 100,000 people have died in the US alone over this. I mean, that just shows that you have some degree of empathy, which is kind of useful for a writer. That would be my first tip: is don't fall into that cycle of guilt. That, oh my God, I'm not working because I watched the news, and then I watch the news again tomorrow, and I'm a horrible person. Blah 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 blah. So,
Yeah, kind of being a little easier on yourself is really important right now. I mean, if suddenly you found that, I've lost all my childcare, so it's me and a pair of toddlers every day. Yeah, it's an experience that they will not remember because they're not forming memories yet. I will always remember. But you got to be, you just have to really cut yourself a lot of slack. And just some days you're just going to be like, it ain't happening today. Horrible things happened in the news. I heard the news this morning. I've got all this going on my plate. I don't have any mental bandwidth left. Sometimes all you can do is say, well, today's kind of crap for writing, and just cut yourself a little bit of slack. Because if you try and be like, no, I saw someone else saying they wrote their 3,000 words and all this, you can't hold yourself up to anyone else's accomplishments on that. They might have a different setup. They might have had a great day. You just have to try to get done what you can get done, and just really try and take it a lot easier on yourself. You're not going to be able to perform the way that you would in non-pandemic times, which is why I artificially inflated all the grades in my college course this semester. There were a lot of A's.
I think
And
I
a
saw you.
lot of C's that should not have been C's.
I think I saw you mention that on Twitter. That you're like, wow,
Yeah.
the curve's going high this semester.
Pandemic grading was a crazy thing.
Pandemic curve.
Oh, it was. I was just like, oh God, I can't give you an F, man. I just feel too bad about it. Here's your D. Congratulations. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't hold them to the standard that I normally would have held them to, because I was just like, I know half of these people have lost jobs. Most of them are having a really hard time paying rent. The world is kind of crazy and in flames. I'm gonna curve this hard. So, I mean, you kind of have to do the same to your writing, unfortunately. You have to really just cut yourself a lot of slack, because otherwise, just writing anything is kind of a win some days.
Yeah,
Kristi?
no, I've been finding that, again, with the caveat that I've got a bit of a biology background, viruses and pandemics used to be a bit of a hobby topic through my entire undergrad, my entire PhD. Like, that was a thing we used to talk about. Was the 1918 flu. Of course, we would read all the all the accounts of it, all the books that were published after it, because it was something that we knew we were coming. And so coming from that background, one of the things I've been able to do is come at it from, we really are living through a piece of history that we're probably not going to see for another 100 years. That's been the historical pattern over 500, 600, 1,000 years, since we've been living in cities. So that sort of helps me keep a little bit sane. But the other thing I had to do, anybody who does know my work, I tend to do urban fantasy, and my last series was about a lot of dead things and zombies and fun stuff like that. And the piece that I was working on, that I still have a draft of on my novel, a draft on my laptop of, is a murder mystery about somebody who works on a body farm and doing that kind of stuff. And I put that aside when the pandemic started, and I'm working on something that's much lighter and a bit more of a comedy stream, just because that's what I needed to actually focus my attention on. And I think that kind of stuff is okay too. If you're working on pandemics, if you've got a pandemic manuscript and you're just like, oh man, I just can't write this right now, then switch to something else. There's no shame in saying I got to leave this project for the next few months, and come back to it later. But focusing, if I need to watch the news and I'm craving hearing what's in the news, again, with that history, mentality, I go and take a look. But again, like Stephen says too, don't let it eat up your entire life. How do you get stuff done during regular times? Do you wake up at 5 a.m. because you've got toddlers who may get up in the next few hours? Do you set a couple of hours aside at nighttime or during a commute? How do you eke that away? It's, try and get something done, but again, don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Solved.
Awesome.
Awesome.
There we go.
It's
Somebody
a
else
wrap.
jump in.
I have a funny story from when I was in my writing program in undergrad. There was, I think this is relevant. There was a girl in the
We'll
program
see.
who was, everyone gets out their scorecards. Obviously we were all
3-5, not relevant.
we were all still in college, so we're all in the 18 to 22 range, because this was traditional college and this was, we were all, there was this one girl who was talking about, when she could write. And I'm going to do the voice because this was a very special young woman. So when she could write was like when, she felt that it was right and she was in the zone, and it had to be at night, and she would pour herself a glass of wine and she would feel the energies, because the energy had to be right.
You have to stop talking like this now, because I'm going to start yelling.
We've all met.
Actually,
someone
I'm
like
kind
that.
of aroused. It sounds like a
Steven's
date.
dog, attack! So
Tune
anyway,
in later for Coffeehouse After Dark, when we'll be talking about.
it's a very particular kink, Stephen, and you've got to pay up front.
I always do.
Yeah. So anyway, so she's going on like this, and literally our professor is just listening like this. And she finally looks at her and she says, you know, I forget what this chick's name is. I'm going to call her Tracy. Tracy.
Not her real name.
Not probably not.
Or
her
might
real
be.
name. Yeah. It was
Most
like
likely.
Tracy. Yeah. That's great now, but when you leave this college, you're going to get a job and you're going to have a lot of responsibilities, and you're no longer going to have the luxury of waiting for the perfect mood and the right wine and the energies. You're going to have to find a way to just make it happen. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And that was actually very solid advice because, you know, obviously we all did leave college, and, you know, suddenly your time, you know, you think you're very busy in college, you realize later, oh, I had a lot of free time in college, as it turned out. And so you do kind of at some point have to realize, well, maybe I was a night writer before, or maybe I was this kind of writer, but if I really need to make this happen, I'm going to have to figure out a way to just sometimes just crank it. You know, this is the hour I've got to crank it in that hour. And I mean, obviously this is, you know, easier to apply in non-pandemic times, but you know.
I actually want to kind of flip that, because I think that's a great thing. I think I when I talk to people about doing this as a career, like I assume if most of the people who come to the General Writers Coffeehouse meeting, and I'm guessing a lot of the people watching this are kind of hoping to do this for a living, or at least to or at least
versus beloved hobby, very different
right
rules.
exactly
Very different rules.
And because of that, I think one of the big things you have to do is realize, if you want this to be something you make money at, if you want this to be some sort of career, some sort of job, you have to treat it like a job. That, you know, you have to say, I'm gonna set this time aside, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. At the same time, I remember one time at the San Diego Coffee House talking to someone, you also have to acknowledge, look, when you have a job, you get time off. You have personal days, you have, you know, sick leave, you have all that. And I think that's something to keep in mind during this, that, you know, yes, you need to have a schedule, you need to do this. At the same time, this probably isn't a bad point to maybe take a day and walk around the courtyard or the backyard, whatever, and breathe fresh air, get sunlight, not look at Twitter or the news for an hour.
Self-care is really critical. And I mean, you can't treat yourself like a machine and just be like, all right, time to do these 3,000 words. You're not a machine. You've got to be easier on yourself, and you also need to give yourself time to recharge.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that was the
Otherwise
person,
you burn out.
the person at the coffee house who actually says, honest to God, their aunt had died.
Oh.
And they were feeling guilty about the fact that, oh, well, I didn't write for 2 days.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
Somebody died.
No.
Like, I don't think I've ever had a job in my life. Like even back to when I delivered newspapers as a kid, I don't think I've ever had a job where you can say, wow, a family member died. I guess I still have to go in for work, though. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we work for Amazon or something.
Yeah. Well, it's. Oh, there was a horror story I read up in
well, this video just got blacklisted.
Anyway,
on
not going to. Yeah. Sorry.
Suddenly all our rankings dropped.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry.
No, I didn't say
Up in
anything
Canada.
about that.
I don't know any of
What
these
was I
people,
going to
said
say?
Stephen.
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Disappeared here.
I thought this was a dating website.
Anybody who's working in like the medical profession, like if you're in the medical profession anywhere right now and you write as a hobby, then like, I mean, if you take six months, a year off writing, that's
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
just because
totally,
a lot of medical
freebie.
folks do
You
write.
get a big freebie.
You know,
Yeah.
it comes down to prioritization.
Yeah.
You know, which is more important? Honestly, keeping people alive, I think, is more important than writing medical
And your own,
thrillers.
Oh yeah.
you know, and your own, like, you know, unless it's helping you get through,
Sanity.
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
it's
your
a different
evenings,
matter.
in which case go for it. But if it's not, then hey, toss it to the side and just
The book
because
will
it's
wait is the
yeah,
truth. Sometimes the
absolutely.
book will wait. And I mean, sometimes, like if you're working like 3 jobs, or if you're like really just cranked to the max, it's like sometimes, you know what, the writing's gotta wait. I mean, as much as everyone, you know, loves to, you know, push that whole starving artist in a garret kind of bullshit, the truth is we all write the best when we are comfortable and our houses are heated and our bills are paid and we've got like time off. You
And
know,
food's good too. Coffee,
Big
food.
fan of food.
very key, very
Yeah.
key.
My parents
You know,
got me hooked
that's
on
what
food
we
at a young
do
age.
our best work.
But
Oh yeah, that stuff. Once you get on, you can't kick it.
you can't.
It's like
Most of my-
oxygen that way.
Most of my life, I've been a food addict. I've been.
Ever since you went off the liquid diet. Yep.
once they say once you start taking solid food, you'll never go back.
Yeah. Oh, that's another caveat. Yeah. When I'm breastfeeding an infant, I give myself a few months to start writing again.
Damn, that's important information for you in case you're breastfeeding.
Yep.
The more you know. But yeah,
let me ask you. We got like 5-10 minutes left in our scheduled meeting. What have you been doing like to keep writing during this? Have any of you had like a specific thing that you try to do as far as just a new tweak on your schedule or your preferred? I don't know.
So the month before before the pandemic started, I got my own toddler into daycare, and it was a glorious
oh,
thing.
that must have been a really sweet month.
Oh yeah, it was a wonderful month, maybe 6 weeks, and then of course everything got very, very real in Vancouver, and so yeah, we've had a toddler home for the last while, but I do keep writing. What I ended up having to do, because I've got a toddler home most of the day and we're all home most of the day now, we got a dishwasher. So that was something, because
I remember you talking about that
of things. Oh, like yes, dishwasher. But
Leveling
the other
up.
thing is I wake up it really is. It's so, but I wake up at 5 a.m. Because I know I've got till at least 7 or 8 a.m. before the toddler / beast is up. And so that's my writing, check the news, business emails that I need to do. Like that's my section. And then if I could eke a couple of hours in later on through the day, like maybe if there's a nap or distracted toddler, then I'll open up the laptop. But it's, you know, it's just it's setting aside those couple of hours in the morning for me. I know other people do nighttime where the kids go to bed and then they open up the laptop. For me, I'm so tired that I fall asleep on my laptop. I tried that initially, and I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and I'd have a laptop in front of me with like Z just written across the screen. And then I'd like cut something, that a page or two that had just disappeared that I had to uncut. So not good. So yeah, it's crossing my fingers that daycare opens again soon. The other thing I used to do before for anybody who's juggling work or trying to, do it, trying to figure out how to work writing into their day-to-day schedule. Peter knows this, and Robin, you know this as well. I do background on films in Vancouver.
We've seen the photos.
So
Yep.
I have found the one job in Vancouver that pays me to show up. They feed me, coffee's all free, food's all free. And basically, I am paid to find something else to do, hopefully something I've brought with me, like a laptop, for about 6 of the 8 hours that I'm there.
Total segue, just so we
Yes.
can like sort of push
Yep.
this out. You're in the last season of Supernatural, aren't you? You're one of the monsters.
I am, yeah. Like episode 9 or 10, I'm a monster.
Life
in, like,
imitates
a
art.
Club. Yeah, it's like I'm this like cerebral type, or what is it, like some kind of monster in my own red leather jacket, standing in like. A
I just remember like you sent me this photo. Like I think you texted it to me, and you got this photo. So you can't show this to anyone, but this.
You get blacklisted. So
yeah,
if you.
But that's it. You sent me. I got this photo months and months ago of you like in full makeup and everything. I'm like, don't show this to anybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you guys have gotten a couple of those. Like the other one is I'm dressed up as the alien with the it's great. Yeah.
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 If I have it, this is past. If I can figure out how to do it, I'm gonna randomly cut it in right now. Like
If I can
figure out how to do it.
Screenshot. Yeah.
I think I still have it. I think I saved it. So if I can figure out how to do it and how to cut it in.
Totally.
Anyone watching this right now, you might suddenly just see a picture of Kristi as a supernatural monster, and you can go back and try and find her in the show.
Very worth it.
So the point of that was, though, creativity, figuring out ways to get paid by somebody else to write. Is a great, if you can, it's the creativity, whether or not it's eking out time or.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it's like for a lot of us, I think all of us, and I'm sure most of the people watching this, when we started writing, when we were starting out, we had something else we need to be doing. That we were teaching classes, that we were working at a magazine, we were, whatever. All of us had another job. And writing our first book, and personally, second book, third book, fourth book, was a side gig for us. So we just had to be more focused on it. So
yeah.
Also, kind of, you offer yourself treats too. Not just like if I write 500 words, I get a cookie. That works. That works in a pinch. But also, kind of like, if you're really looking forward to this writing this scene, and you're so like, oh, it's going to be so juicy. Oh, I'm so excited about it. Like you say, well, first I got to write those other scenes that come before it. And that can really just kind of be the carrot that forces you forward, because you're really looking forward to that really awesome scene. And so that can help you kind of get through a lot of, because, writing can be a slog. There are the good days, but they're also the kind of, it's 100 pages before that scene. Man.
I just went through that because I just edited a fight scene I was super proud of. I had to do something different for the book I'm working on now. People 1 year from now looking back at this video will know what this is. But I have an eyes closed fight scene where I basically kind of challenge myself, but also want to just do something different. The whole fight scene is just what you hear.
Oh, that's cool.
So, will it work? Who knows? This could be one of those things where, again, I get a note from my editor like, seriously?
I'm just imagining the Foley artist's gone mad,
Well, like when I wrote Paradox Bound, in one of the early drafts, there's a whole thing of like, and here's a whole chapter of Eli going cross country on a bus. And my editor actually, one of his first notes was like, did you actually write a whole chapter of this guy on a bus sitting there? I was like, yes, but it's the art and the characters and I'll cut it. Okay.
Anything that can be reduced to he walked across the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever read The Princess Bride, the
Yeah.
book? Do you remember the whole bit with like what is it, like chapter 4? With one
I
thing and
love
another, 5 years passed.
Yeah. I love all the footnotes. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dog is in here and making noises. So if you hear whining, that's what it is, or maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Well, we're
Stephen does think he's on a date.
Are we done?
we're pretty close to done. Does anyone have any last
Okay.
thoughts on like things to help you focus during the
Well,
plague
I
years?
just kind of what we were talking about just now about how do you do it and when and so on. I know I still struggle with the having a set schedule of, okay, yeah, this is my job, and so from X hours, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, whatever. I still have trouble with that, but I am getting better. It also helps that I am among the ranks of the unemployed right now. So right now, what I'm able to do is actually get a lot done in the morning, take care of things, around the house or, whatever needs to get done. And then I'm able to hopefully get some more work done later. But if I don't, I don't. I know what my deadlines are. I know that I'm okay with them. There's a million other things that need to get done. But I think the advice of just, you gotta find the time and as much as possible, the time that works for you. But if you can't get that, then anytime. I think that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great story about, I don't know if any of you read it. It's a great book. Kristi, you probably did. Anne Fadiman's book, The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down, the medical anthropology one about the Hmong child.
No.
You would love it. It's amazing. I'll tell you about it in detail later.
Okay.
But anyway, Anne Fadiman's this amazing nonfiction writer, but she's apparently...
We'll look it up and we'll put a link down below for anyone who...
Everyone should read it. It's legitimately, it's an amazing book. But Anne Fadiman is like such a night person. It's like hilariously not even funny. And she was spending years on this book, which ended up winning a whole bunch of national prizes. It's amazing. It's taught in a lot of medical ethics classes. It's so good. But it got to the point that she finally told her husband and her 2 children, she's like, this book ain't happening unless I can write on me time. So for 6 months, she wrote from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. every night. And then she would have to go to bed as everyone else in her house is getting up.
Yeah.
And she just, that was the schedule she had to keep to get this thing done. And fortunately enough, she had, a spouse who could take care of the kids and do all those things and be good at it. And also, but she was just it was pretty rough, in the essay she writes about it, but she was like, that's what it took, because otherwise this book was not getting done, but it's an interesting story. I mean, now she writes mostly essays and things like that she can kind of work into a normal human schedule. But she was like, for that project that was so big, that's what it took to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't fight your circadian rhythm.
Nope.
All right. I think that's what we got.